Deebo says we have to get it done. Shout out to Live Moods. Keyshawn.
Yo.
We've talked a little bit about this before. This is a conversation that has lingered around the 49ers because they are there at the end of the year after year. They're in the Super Bowl, and they're in the championship game. They have a great roster, and then somehow they never get the ring. Do you agree with Deebo, it's now or never for the Niners?
I do. You just mentioned it, Joy. You said we talk about this on and off camera and just where they're at in not only in their careers, but the organization. 6 seasons, they've been in the mix, okay? Obviously, Kansas City's been somewhat their Achilles heel to getting over the hump, whether it was with Jimmy Garoppolo or then Brock Purdy, whatever the case is. They just haven't been able to get them out of the way. But as time goes by, the clock is a-ticking for many different reasons, whether it's age. I mean, Trent Williams isn't getting any younger. I mean, he's been in the league forever, right? So you start to look at that and things start to pile up, and you just gotta, it is what it is. And if he was my teammate, I'm on the same page as him anyway. We all know this. It's like we having this conversation, man, we gotta get this done. We're like, come on, man, what we doing here? And that's the way it is in all locker rooms with good teams that didn't close it out. At some point, it's gonna hit the reset button. I don't care if it's Paul Pierce in the Boston Celtics or me and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or whatever. At some point, you got to hit or else the reset button isn't coming.
I feel like teams and sports are interesting in this way where you really have to live in the moment in a lot of ways. You have to have very short memories. You can't linger on losses too long. You have to forget injuries. You have to forget past beefs with other teams because it's a new roster. Meet new teammates. So you have to be very present. But there is also this looming idea of things ending, right? Like what the future holds. And are we going to keep this team together? And do we have to get it done now? So it's this really weird space that teams who are in the championship window, I'll say, kind of exist in, where we got to get this done now, but we don't want to think too much in the future because you have to focus on the task at hand. And I feel like that's where the Niners are, and especially the Niners because they have repeatedly gone so far into the postseason, which is a rare thing. You were part of a championship team. Are you surprised that Deebo said that, and do you agree with him?
No, I absolutely agree because you hit the nail on the head. Your window of opportunity, when you're on championship-type rosters, you never know when it's going to end because all type of things happen. Injuries, trades, contract disputes. And right now, they've had their window that has been open for a few years now.
Yeah.
Because you just never know what can happen last year. Now, on my championship team in Boston, we brought Ray and Kevin together. Doc was like, listen, we got to win this year because we don't know how big our window's going to be. And fortunately, we won our first year together. After that, we dealt with injuries after injuries after injuries. And so I like his sense of urgency because you just never know what's going to happen the following year. Now, they got to get healthy right now.
Right.
So they're going to need Deebo on the field. They're going to need McCaffrey on the field. And so absolutely the window of opportunity is right now for the San Francisco 49ers.
And Joy, and Paul mentioned it, it could be trades, it could be contract issues. They got about 5 or 6 guys that they got to make decisions on in the next couple seasons or so. Deommodore Lenoir, Ward, Ufunga, Deebo again, Purdy. So you start looking at it and go back to 2 years ago, 2 seasons ago, Philadelphia, they go into Philadelphia as the favorite, they rolling, all of a sudden, they down to like Christian McCaffrey playing quarterback. So you just don't know what could happen in these situations. We won the Super Bowl after going to the playoffs, the NFC Championship, and then we get there, we win, and then the next year, the coach decides he getting ready to just dismantle everybody and start. So you don't. We could have probably won 2 or 3, but his decision as the head honcho was we getting ready to break everything up. The Lakers happen to y'all, but anyway, that's what it was, Joy. Lakers happen to y'all.
Well, the Niners have had different versions, right? Because you had the Jimmy Garoppolo, under Shanahan. So we know that they will always be a competitive team and a competent team and a team of culture and a team of standards, and they develop players just because of the way that they draft, the way that Kyle Shanahan's system works. So it's not that when we say now or never that Kyle Shanahan is never going to put together a competitive team again or they're never going to be able to reboot or any of those things, but they've had a lot of luck. Purdy being one of them. I don't give anybody credit for the last pick in the draft. I'm sorry. Y'all were living right Okay, you had your vegetables that day or whatever, but sorry. Talk to somebody else about it. He was the last pick in the draft. That was luck, and it all aligned. So that was luck. Because what you did do was use 3 first-round picks on Trey Lance, and that didn't work out. But I do think that a team like a Kyle Shanahan-led 49ers team has been able to recover from that, which could have been a disaster. Because if Trey Lance didn't work out and Brock Purdy wasn't luckily there, what does this team even look like right now?
I still think that they could have made. I still think they would have made the Trey Lance stuff work to some degree.
What do you mean?
To some degree, meaning like
Trey Lance, like they would have made Trey Lance.
They'd have made it work. They'd have figured out how to. They'd have figured out how to keep it at a minimum. Think about Jimmy Garoppolo. They kept him at a minimum. When they went to the championship, the Super Bowl that time, and they played Green Bay, and I feel like it was Minnesota, but my brain is so long ago. They took the ball out of Jimmy Garoppolo's hand. He tried to throw it to the other team. Kyle Shanahan was like, nah, in both games, the divisional round and the NFC Championship, and he's like, no, you going to throw a couple passes and that's it. Because he almost threw it to the other team. So what I'm saying is, because Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch is so good at what they do, they would have recognized, nah, we're not going to allow him to screw us up.
You mean they would have moved off of him, or they would have
No, they just would have dealt with it and had the other pieces around him.
They would have had a different type of playbook.
A different type of playbook. There you go.
Right.
Keep it nice and simple.
I don't even want to be shady, but I disagree.
No,
I don't think they would have recovered from that. I think that's why they moved on from him. But my point of it is what Deebo is saying is correct. It does feel like now or never. For the way that this team is currently constructed, the talent that you're used to seeing on this team, the level of talent, you also can't pay everybody at the top of the league money. There's a salary cap. Eventually, you're going to have to move on from players.
In that first Super Bowl that they went to, there was young guys like a Deebo Samuel that didn't need money at that point in time. He wanted, obviously, if they gave him a contract and he took it, but it wasn't a situation because he was on this rookie deal. So you got that, right? You had some of the other players that were young that they moved on from because they figured, okay, they're not giving us exactly what we want. We could draft guys in other rounds, move on from them, not spend all that money. But now the bill is due, and it's due at a large rate. So they got to pick and choose, starting with the quarterback. We all know the quarterback is going to get paid, and he'll probably give them a I like you deal, and thank you for bringing me in, and you're my big brother deal, and everything will be good.
He's still going to be expensive.
Yeah, but it won't be. He's not going to be $60 million.
I don't think he'll reset the market either, but he's still going to take a big jump.
Yeah, he'll get a big jump.
What if they win the Super Bowl? Then what?
Then he's going to.
Well, then that's a different kind. If you win the Super Bowl,
they win the Super Bowl. That market got to reset.
If you win the Super Bowl, I'm gonna give you whatever the hell you want.
Right.
Yeah, that's just the bottom line.
That resets the market.
Yeah, that'll reset the market.
We're operating under the idea that they don't do that.
Win the Super Bowl, yeah.
So you've both won championships. How much has to come together to win a championship? Obviously, health is super important. That's a given. But a lot of things have to align. We talk about, he's joking with you about the Lakers, but other teams do get better.
Yeah.
They have breaks along the way.
Well, in order to keep the window open, that's the thing after you win. We put together 3 All-Stars, and we were the favorite from start to finish. It's what happens after that now. Because the next year we lost a key piece. And the same thing Key said happened to him, losing key pieces after that. And so we're saying, hey, and that's why we say Deebo says now or never. Because if they win it this year, who knows if this same roster comes back. So, everything has to align. Once you get these certain pieces together, all right, we're a championship team, which the Niners are. They're a championship-level team. We all know that. Now, if we don't get the job done, this could be a whole nother look next year. And that's the reason we didn't win again, because we just started turning over other pieces that were important. Yeah. And it just messes with the chemistry now.
And that's sort of the same thing that Paul is talking about with us in Tampa Bay Bucks. We started the next season basically with everybody intact to a degree. We lost Dexter Jackson, who was the MVP of the Super Bowl. He went on to Arizona in free agency to get his big money because we were not going to pay him the type of money Arizona. But egos got involved, right? Because all of a sudden, I'm the guy. I
want a bigger role.
And then all the egos started happening, and things just started falling apart slowly but surely to the point where the general manager wasn't getting along with the head coach because the head coach felt, I'm the one who came in and did it. You guys didn't do it before I got. So you had all of those sort of things. Instead of everybody still being aligned, despite the issues that we may have, we can go on the field with white lines and we're fine. We're fine.
Do you feel like that's the culture that they have there. We had Honey Badger and Tyrann Mathieu on yesterday, and he was talking about how much it takes to go on a Super Bowl run. He's won a Super Bowl, and he said everyone has to be pulling in the same direction.
Right.
Break down what that means.
That means, like, so for us, we was under the Tony Dungy's rules and regulations, so to speak. We carried that. The way we handled business was the way Dungy wanted us to do it. We went on a run, won the Super Bowl. Then all of a sudden, things started changing because we had a new voice and a new head coach that came in that had all the power, and he wanted it done his way. So we started losing some of that Dungy mystique that we had, and it just eventually started everybody started parting ways. They started separating the locker room in quarters, so to speak, not even in halves, where it was like, he's with him, there that group over here, here's that group over there.
It was clicky.
It was too clicky. Before, we was all, hey, a party at Key's house, everybody there, a party over here, we all doing that. Then
Right.
we get this in here, it's like, man, different situation.
The camaraderie
Changed.
and energy
Changed.
matters just from
Oh my
the
God, yeah.
relationships and
Yeah.
translating it onto the
Yeah,
field.
because we
and
had
onto the court.
everybody's back. The year we won the Super Bowl, we was all one big unit, one happy family. Prior years, one big unit, one happy family. No jealousy, no nothing. It was just, we just played football and enjoyed each other. Then the moment we won, everybody just kind of went in our separate ways, so to speak.
Yeah, and also for it to come together, you got to take the agenda out of it. You know, players can't have an agenda. Like, you can't have one player saying, I want to win MVP, or I want to make an All-Star or a Pro Bowl. You got to take the agenda out of it, and also another thing, egos. You got to leave those at the door.
Check them at the door.
You got to leave those at the door. You know what I'm
Isn't that
saying?
difficult to do with
It-
like high-level players?
It's not, because there's a conversation that has to be had.
Plus, I know
when
who
there's
you are,
constant
Jordan.
yeah, exactly. Like when you constantly talk and you talk about your common goal, and you're like, look, we haven't accomplished anything. So what you did where you was at didn't work.
Yeah.
What I did where I was at didn't work. So this is the things we got to do. And this was talked about. And once you address those things, it's smooth sailing. But then, like he said, another things start creeping in. When you win, somehow agendas start creeping in. I want more of a role now. So I was a key piece to this. Now you got guys who played a certain role, don't want to come back to the same role. You know, they want to expand their role. So
Because the goals have changed.
well, the goal is still the championship, but they
Individual goals have
individual
changed.
goals have changed, absolutely. So that's the one thing that you gotta have great leadership in the locker room also.
And you can't be, everybody can't be petty, the ego, you know, it's just all the jealousy, all those sort of
Right.
things. And I think the great thing about both leaders of the organization, and John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan grew up around his dad. His
Yeah.
dad was able to win championships in Denver, so he was around that enough to have it on him. John Lynch won a Super Bowl and was around strong teams in Tampa Bay, so he kind of understands what it would take to get to a Super Bowl. When you put those two things together, this is why they've been so successful, because typically when you have success, the general manager and the head coach, they're never on the same page again after a while.
Right.
Somebody wants the credit. But with these two, they're like, hey, man, we together. We're together in this thing. So I think San Francisco is going to be in it for a little bit, but Deebo is 100% correct. It's right now, they got to get it done
For
now.
this team, the way that
Yes.
this
For
team
this
looks.
team.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.